What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today is the day that we lose about half the subs we've gained because we're talking about Dondozo and Tatsugiri, right? So this is the infamous duo of Scarlet and Violet, especially early on back in Regulation A, where a lot of people complained about it because it was so oppressive, and in the early goings of the game, you know, people didn't really know too many ways to deal with it. However, with a little bit more exploration, of course, there ended up being quite a number of checks to Dondozo and Tatsugiri. You just need to know what they are, and we did put out that video back then, and I guess I should remake that video for Regulation H, but that is not the time for that. Right here for this video, we're going to be talking about how to build with Dondozo Tatsugiri in case this is something that you are interested in, okay? So, in my opinion, they almost work like Annihilate and Mousehold to an extent, right? Where they're an easy duo that you can slap on to a core 4, okay? And that's one way to go about it. Other than that, you can also technically go with what's called the 2-2-2 Dondozo Tatsugiri format, right? Where you're just slapping on pairs together and then creating a team of 6 that way. So for example, yes, we have Dondozo Tatsugiri with the commander boost and whatnot, but then you can also add stuff like Mousehold, and then you can also add stuff like Annihilate, right? And then this is another way to really build with Dondozo Tatsugiri by just adding on these two and then rounding it out with 2 other slots, okay? And then from there, that is a 2-2-2 Dondozo, right? And if, just for the sake of the argument here, I can just do Indiri, okay? And then I can also do Armourouge here, right? And this is another pair that you can also slap on to something like this, right? And it works. So this is a very standard 2-2-2 Dondozo team. I've also seen stuff with Sand, with Tyranitar, and Lycanroc at the time, you know, back in the early goings of the game. And this is another variant of Dondozo Tatsugiri. There's lots of different ways to build it, but if you had to really scaffold it around these two, okay, that's what we're gonna go for here, okay? But my take on it is I've always, you know, if I had to play Dondozo Tatsugiri, which I usually don't, but if I had to play it, the way I would like to do it is simply add Glimmora here. I'm a huge fan of Glimmora, by the way, and I think Glimmora really shines on Dondozo Tatsugiri teams, and that's been proven in the data in the past. If you look at Regulation A, B, and C content, right, Glimmora Dozo teams were very, very strong. And then from here, you can kind of just round out the team with some other strong options, which we're going to show you. But the idea with Glimmora is that with Toxic Debris, you're able to basically chip things away with poison and then put them in range in the end game for Dondozo and Tatsugiri to clean things up in the back, right? So that's it. That Glimmora is a great start. Okay, like you look at this special attack, 130, and then everything else is like above average. But when you consider the type of sets that it can run, so for example, you can do Sludge Bomb, of course, which is great into a lot of fairy types and other Terra Fairy options. So imagine, you know, Sylveon or Primarina. Glimmora Sludge Bomb is very, very strong against those. Yes, they do have, you know, great special defense bulk, but there's a way to get your own special attack back up, and that is with the use of Meteor Beam here, okay? You know, you're a rock type. This is going to do a lot of damage. This one-shots Incineroar. So, you know, after you get your +1, then you can even start going for Earth Powers, which is really good. And then after that, Spiky Shield, of course, which is, you know, your version of Protector, and then on contact, you take damage. And, you know, this is a really, really good set. And again, you know, you put out this early aggression with Glimmora, and then maybe you add a Tailwind user like Talonflame, which is also rising yet again in the meta. And now all of a sudden, you're super aggressive early on, and then you can clean things up in the back with Dondozo and Tatsugiri, right? So I really like this kind of Dondozo team, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some other Dondozo teams, and then from there, we'll round out the rest of this team. But I will start with these 4 because that's just the way I like to play Dondozo, all right? So let's go into Lab Mouse. Let's take a look at some tournament teams thus far and see what other people have been using thus far with Dondozo and Tatsugiri. All right, so we're here into the Lab Mouse website here. And again, if you're not using this resource, you're doing yourself a disservice because it's very good for team building and meta analysis. And if you're trying to improve your game in competitive aspects, one way to really do that is to study the game. And if you don't use this website, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage because other people are, right? And you get to take a look at what's really strong right now in the meta by, you know, utilizing the tabs developed by Tim and the boys from Lab Mouse over here, right? So let's take a look. We've been able to filter out Dondozo Tatsugiri from the beginning up until now, which is August 6th. So first place right here, Damian Lillard VGC taking first place, 11-0. You know, using Talonflame and Gholdengo. I like that duo a lot. Again, Gholdengo doing really well with Tailwind support. So this is Dragonite, again, being super aggressive, just able to take out options immediately by just going for Choice Band, Extreme Speed stuff. There is Terra Flying available here because we have Terra Blast. This is good. And then you have Pawmot here, which I like also on Dondozo Tatsugiri teams, where you're just able to, bring back the Dondozo if it does go down. Granted at half health, but, as long as you switch out the Tatsugiri, you'll always have the option to go with Dondozo in the end game with all those stat boosts, right? So I like this a lot. Pawmot also gives you a strong fighting type, which you're going to need against, something like Archaludon. Pawmot's also pretty good into, the Palafin stuff. So, not bad. And then over here, Talonflame with Covert Cloak, again, very strong. Can't really fake it out. And then Will-O-Wisp, for burn status, that's really strong here. And overall, just a really, really good, solid Dondozo team. Very aggressive too, especially with Gholdengo choice specs there. So that's very nice. So I like that a lot. Then as we go down the list here, there's the Glimmora that we like, right? So Dondozo Tatsugiri Glimmora. There's that Life Orb Gholdengo again, which of course I like. Now this time it's Mousehold here, with Faint and Super Fang. That's also very nice. So again, able to set up the Gholdengo here. Follow me, Nasty Plot. Early aggression, make it rain. And then from there, you can clean things up in the back with something like Dondozo Tatsugiri. Even Rillaboom is also really strong in the end game. I like to see Tailwind here. Anytime I see Gholdengo, I just can't help but, want Tailwind just to help it outspeed things. I feel like if this Rillaboom was, maybe something, Murkrow or Talonflame, I think that would be also really good. But nonetheless, still very strong way of building Dondozo Tatsugiri. And again, note the sets here with Dondozo, right? So Terra Grass, very strong Terra type. Again, able to resist something like Meowscarada crits. You don't fall asleep to a Mungus. And then the electric damage, something like Archaludon Electro Shot, that gets resisted. So really smart here. And then it's Terra Blast also. Terra Blast, Terra Grass, also good at nuking those water types as well. Because again, if you look at something like Primarina, which kind of sits in front of Dondozo, doesn't care for Order Up, and then Wave Crash is not doing as much damage as one would like, because Primarina, pretty decent bulk. So, and by the way, that's one of those checks that you can do with Dondozo, right? Haze Primarina. So, if you really need a Dondozo check, Haze Primarina right now, as well as Haze Palafin is also really solid. But I like this a lot. Sleep Talk is also pretty good. Again, just accounting for Among Us sleep shenanigans, that's also really nice. Icy Wind, good speed control there. So this is okay. I respect this variant of Dondozo. And then over here, now back to Tailwind stuff. Here's Whimsicott here with Encore. And then there's the Tailwind. There's the Glimmora. This is what I like. Yeah, there we go. So, this is how I would like to do this. Tailwind Gholdengo is also really, really solid. So, I think this is okay. And then this is the Chesto Berry Rest, Dondozo build, where you're just able to get all your health back. And then from there, just heal yourself and then start clicking Earthquakes and Wave Crashes and whatnot. So, I think this is fine as well. Hisuian Arcanine. Okay, we're back to being aggressive here. With the Arcanine, which still does very well on those Tailwind teams. And now that all the legendaries are gone and the power creep is brought down to normal a little bit, now all of a sudden Hisuian Arcanine looks interesting as another option yet again within the meta. But that's also pretty cool. Now over here, how about the Screens variant? So we've done Tailwind stuff. How about Screens Dondozo with Glimmora and Gholdengo? So that's another way to consider it, right? Fate Tears is very devastating with Gholdengo and Glimmora. So I like this tech here. This is pretty smart. There's that Dragonite that we discussed last time, but this is AV Dragonite. So that's another way to consider it. Miracle Tatsugiri is another tech that I did not consider. And it's also Sash, so that's another way to do it. And then there's Lumberry. So, if you want to burn the Dondozo with Will-O-Wisp, that's one way around it with Lumberry. Or even put it to sleep. So that's pretty cool. Or status, with paralysis, outspeed it. So I like that. That's also interesting. And then how about this one? With just straight Talonflame, Glimmora, Gholdengo. That's the core I like. And then here's Pawmot. You know what? This is probably my favorite 6. That's not 222 Dondozo. But if you think about it, this can also be like 222 Dondozo. But yeah, this is pretty good. There's that Glimmora set that we talked about. And then there's Pawmot again. Here's Specs Gholdengo with Trick. That's good. And then Taunt Talonflame. Brave Bird, Taunt, Willows, Flare Blitz. So no Tailwind here. So that's also very interesting. I'm not sure about no Tailwind Talonflame, but to each their own. And then as we go down this list, there's some other interesting Dondozo builds that I want to look at here. How about Tyranitar with Glimmora? So again, the sand, giving that special defense boost, which Glimmora appreciates. And then again, Mousehold over here providing support. Along with Gholdengo, I like this. We've seen this core already, in the first team over here. So that's also pretty cool. But second team actually. What's another cool? All right, how about this one? There's the Into the Armor stuff with Dondozo Tatsugiri, and then Blood Moon Archaludon and Amoonguss in the back, right? So this is almost like a 2-2-2 Dondozo kind of thing, right? So that's another consideration that you can do. How about the Murkrow stuff? With Gholdengo, right? So there's a couple of them here. Even though these are like earlier teams, I still feel like this kind of thing can still work. Like you can still do like Hydreigon, Garchomp, Murkrow, Gholdengo, and then slap on Dondozo Tatsugiri. I think that's also fine as well. So that's another way you can consider it if you really want to go that direction, right? But either way, I still like this where we're gonna add Gholdengo here, and then Pawmot is also something that is quite interesting. You have fake out pressure. You can even set up the Gholdengo too, right? With fake out, and you don't really care about intimidates. So, well, yes, you do. You are a physical attacker, but Gholdengo doesn't. But yeah, this is a good 6. I like this 6. So now let's just go ahead and build it because I feel like it's a really easy standard way to build Dondozo right now. And then you can go ahead and test it and get started with it on ladder if it is something that you really want to use. So yeah, let's go back into Dondozo and start routing out this team. Okay, so let's keep it pretty standard with the Dondozo set. So Unaware, again, really good at ignoring stat changes, so that's nice. That's going to be good later on when we, hit those Pokemon with those attack boosts or defense boosts and whatnot. So Order of Wave Crash, Earthquake, and then Protect. That Wake Up Slap, wait a second. Wave Crash, there we go. Okay, we're go leftovers here. All right, and then Terra Grass is also pretty solid. Now, if you want an alternate Terra, I think Terra Dragon Dondozo is pretty good, just to resist the electric and grass damage, but grass can do that anyway, and now you get Amoonguss immunity at the same time. So I feel like that's also pretty good. I think this is the ideal set for Dondozo right now. I've seen some substitute sets, right, instead, which you can definitely do, especially when it comes to like Trick Room stuff. But at the end of the day, it's still fine. I think Earthquake is really strong, especially against Side Spam stuff, unless they have Wide Guard, but then you can always play around the Wide Guard. It'll be okay in that sense. Okay, then from here, Tatsugiri, Choice Scarf, really good. Especially, just combining this with Glimmora or even Pawmot, to be able to do that is also going to be good in terms of getting the speed control with the Icy Wind, which we're going to do. Then after that, it's just simple Draco Meteor, your Muddy Water set, okay? And then Sleep Talk is also something that you can do, if you do fall asleep, right? And Terra Water, of course, good defensive Terra. That's what we want there. Glimmora, again, another one that likes Terra Grass. I like the Power Herb set with Meteor Beam, so we'll do it that way. Talonflame, Covert Cloak, just like in our other team build. I do like Covert Cloak, Talonflame. Tailwind is a must. Then we'll have Flare Blitz and Brave Bird, and then Will-O-Wisp over here. Now, if you really want Life Orb here, you can definitely do Life Orb, Talonflame, and nuke something, but I think this is okay in terms of what we want with Covert Cloak. Speaking of Life Orb, this is where I'll put it. I do like Gholdengo with Life Orb. Now, you can go the Choice Specs Trick route, right? And that's going to be good against things that want to switch in. I'm sorry, click Trick Room. So you can definitely do that because then they're neutralized a little bit. They're forced to switch out. So if that's the direction you want to take Gholdengo, then you can definitely do that. Otherwise, I think this is okay with what we want, right? Hatterene doesn't want to stay in front of Gholdengo. So make it range, Shadow Ball, Nasty Plot, and then Protect over here, okay? Nasty, yeah, there we go. Then from here, Talonflame, I think even Terra Flying is okay, just for one big Brave Bird nuke. Gholdengo, this is another one where either Water or Dragon's pretty good. I think I like Terra Dragon and Gholdengo. I think this is okay. Pawmot here, we'll keep it as Electric for now. I think this is still okay, like Natural Cure already. We can cure its status on switch. Focus Sash for, safety. Fake Out, double shock, of course, close combat, and then revival blessing, the trademark move of the Pawmot, right? And that's it, right? This is a very general, easy Dondozo build you could use. And again, if you are a Glimmora lover, right? Otherwise, if you're not a Glimmora lover, you can easily just switch that out. You can put something like Dragonite in that slot, or some other aggressive option. You can put like Hydreigon in that slot if you really want to. But, you know, for me, I like Glimmora. I think it adds a lot of early game aggression. So now what we want to do, let's go back and let's start creating some basic EV spreads and let's test out the team. All right, so for Dondozo here, literally, I just want to go Adamant, you know, just so that I can get the bump in the attack stat, which I'll show you in a second. I will go max speed here, okay, 87, because under Commander Boost, that'll give me some good speed value. And again, if you want to, you know, do some speed tier checks, you can always aim to outspeed Adamant Dondozo under Tatsugiri Commander Boost. So if you do a little bit of math, 87 times 2, what is that? That hits 174. So you'll see some Pokemon go for 175, 176 just to try and outspeed Dondozo, you know, max speed Adamant, okay? Then from there, let's hit the Adamant bump, 156 investment. That's what we want. And again, if you're trying to play competitive Pokemon and you're trying to get better at creating EV spreads, and you don't know what EV bumps are, make sure you comment in the video asking what are EV bumps. I will respond to you, I will reply to you, and hopefully it'll make sense. I think it makes sense. But this way, if you understand what EV bumps are, it's a very fundamental thing to understand when creating spreads. So it'll help you out if you know what the bumps are, because it gets teams going quickly if you need to test them out on ladder and you just don't really know what kind of EV spreads you want to do. Going for the bumps is something that's very standard and baseline in the early goings, and then you adjust later on depending on your battle experience and some damage counts you need to go and take into account. All right, so comment what are EV bumps, and I will reply to you, and hopefully you'll get a better understanding of how we do our EV spreads, right? Anyway, so we're at the Adamant bump here. After that, you know, just put a little bit of HP. We're already past the Rillaboom Grassy Terrain Recovery checkpoint, so I just want to dump the rest into special defense there. You know, give me some good solid bulk. And from there, it's okay. Like, it's a decently hitting Dondozo with some special defense bulk. All right, Tatsugiri. Literally, I just want to go Timid 252 with this. You know, just in the early get-goes, just to try and outspeed things. And again, you can also consider, look, you know, something with a choice scarf 148. That would be good as well, just to try and outspeed that. Same thing with Pawmot over here. Another one where literally just Jolly set is all you really need to consider here, you know, with this Focus Sash set. 172, right? So 172, and then Dondozo 174, right? So Dondozo will outspeed a Jolly Pawmot, so keep that in mind, right? These are like some of these features you have to take into account when you're doing your team building, because they are popular options. Then over here, Glimmora. So what I like to do with Glimmora is I want to also not just take into effect Tailwind, but also into account Icy Wind from Tatsugiri, right? And what I want to do is outspeed something like Meowscarada with that with that speed drop there, right? So I'm still going to go modest here, but I'm going to go about 180, right? So 129 with that Icy Wind drop. If you just do a little bit of math, all right, that'll get you to about 193, and Meowscarada hits 192 at Jolly Spread. So that's going to be good. That'll help us outspeed. And then from there, I'm going to try for the bump. Okay, here's the first one at 76 investment. Then if we go 156, here's the other one. But again, we're going for Meteor Beam, right? So with this +1 set, you know, it'll just give us an odd number, right? Because 1.5 multiplier, odd number, rounds down, you know, because you're getting a decimal. So what we want to do is go to an even number. So let's go to 188 there. So this way, it's a nice solid whole number when we do get that boost. Then from there, I just want to add about 140 investment. So 176. That is for the Rillaboom Grassy Terrain Optimal Recovery. Again, factor of 1/16 of your max HP. So this way you get perfect solid whole number recovery. If you just do that math, again, 176 divided by 16 is going to give you 11. So 11 points of recovery per turn for Glimmora under Grassy Terrain Recovery from an opponent's Rillaboom. Then after that, you got 24 EVs. Look, just even out the bulk stats here. 90 in defense, 81 SPDF. Slightly above average, just 12 points there, just to round out the spread. I've already got what I wanted. I got the speed tier, I got the bump that I want in the attacking stat. I have the HP benchmark number. After that, it's just bulk at that point, right? Talonflame, another one. you know, again, just be super fast. You don't want to lose other Talonflame speed ties because, again, they are also going for the same thing. And literally just add almost a 252, 252 set. I just want to round out the spread here. So I just go 444 like this. And that's really, you know, you can technically do that with Tatsugiri here. So if that is something that you want to do, you can also do that as well. It's not a huge deal, but it's just another way of rounding out the spread there. Gholdengo here. So I like Modest. Another one where I like Modest, but let's go about 156 here. I think this is okay. 124. Again, I'm doing this to outspeed those max speed Incineroars if they're a thing, right? Because it just works itself out with the spread, right? I'm going to go the second benchmark here in the special attacking stat, which is nice. I want to end my HP with a value of 9, okay? So this way I optimize the Life Orb chip, and then literally I just get 1 point left over into the bulk here, right? So that's our Life Orb Gholdengo set in this case. I know it's choice specs here. Let me put the Life Orb here. Okay, so that's the way I like my Gholdengo. But other than that, that's pretty much it, right? These are just very basic general spreads that you can use and you know, start your ladder experience just in case you don't know really what to do in terms of your damage calcs. But again, I was just going for benchmarks and some slight optimization. But now you have a team that you can just jumpstart your testing on ladder with, right? So this is the way I like to play Dondozo Tatsugiri. So let's take a look at some games and let's see how Glimmora functions in all of these games. All right, so this first game is one of those Mouse Ape Archaludon teams. So of course the Mouse Ape is going to have the Mouse Hold is going to have beat up because you can beat up the Annihilate for the Rage Fist boost, and you can beat up the Archaludon, so it's getting all these defense boosts, right? And then hard-hitting body presses. Then you have Grimmsnarl for screens, and then Pelipper, Palafin stuff. This is a pretty cool Archaludon Palafin team with, you know, the Mouse Hold core. So I like this a lot. But this is something where Gholdengo looks really good, right? Because you have a lot of early aggression with Make It Rain, which does great damage into Grimmsnarl and Mouse Hold, okay? And then at the same time, Archaludon is not going to do so well against Life Orb Shadow Ball, especially if you can get a +2 boost. So that's good there. And then even Pawmot in the end game could be really good because, again, you have a nice solid fighting tank for the Archaludon. You have good electric damage into Palafin and Pelipper at the same time. So, you know, Pawmot could be really good. And then, of course, the Dondozo Tatsugiri stuff, right? So let's see how we play this. So early on, I just want to simply lead the Gholdengo because I know he's going to try and lead the Grimmsnarl. If he does Mouse Hold and Annihilate, that's still okay with me. I'm going to solo lead the Dondozo, keep the Tatsugiri in the back here. So there's Wide Guard. Not all the Pelippers have Wide Guard, but, you know, this one does. So, you know, my Make It Rain doesn't do much damage here, but that's just free damage for Dondozo in the rain, and look how much it does, right? So the Pelipper has to be kept honest here. Now, he can just go for Light Screen here, so he can do that, or I was expecting the Thunder Wave, which is why, you know, I protected the Dondozo, but he just went for Light Screen, and, you know, it cost me here a little bit, because now this is where he goes for the Thunder Wave, which is what I would do. I thought he was going to do next turn, but that's still fine, right? So, after that, I still click Make It Rain. I wanted to keep the Pelipper honest. Look at that damage, right? So, Mousehold takes a ton, and then Dondozo in the rain with Wave Crash just absolutely removes the Mousehold. So, there's the Redirector. There's the beat up option gone, which is what I think he was trying to do with the Archaludon. He thought I was going to go for the Grimmsnarl, but works out for me. So, here we go. Tatsugiri Dondozo. I am paralyzed, so I do have to need I need a little bit of luck here, but again, this is where the Terra Grass option really helps. He actually aimed for the Tatsugiri shot, which is kind of funny there. Earthquake, probably not ideal. I probably should have just went for the Grimmsnarl and left the Archaludon later on after I removed the Grimmsnarl, but, you know, I just wanted to keep clicking Earthquake damage and keep chipping the Archaludon for a little bit more damage later on with the Pawmot and the Gholdengo, right? So we actually just crit him, and that's great for me because, you know, screens and all and defense boost, he was in a decent spot, but he wasn't really doing damage into the Dondozo, right? So that's going to happen sometimes, right? If you're going to play that route, and if you get crit, you just lose. So Dondozo wins this game. So this is actually a pretty cool Pre-Marina team. You know, Dragapult, Farigiraf, Instant Amoonguss Pre-Marina, good solid Firewater Grass Core. Again, and you have to be aware of the Pre-Marina with Haze, or even the Amoonguss with Clear Smog, as well as Knockoff and Will-O-Wisp Instant. These are things as a Dondozo player you have to be aware of because that's their way to check it. But this is also where Glimmora comes in really handy, right? Because again, the Meteor Beam into the instant is going to do a lot of damage. And then the Sludge Bomb with the +1 into the Primarina also going to do a lot of damage. And if you have the Terra Grass, Primarina is not going to do a whole lot of damage into you, right? So that being said, you know, stuff like Dragapult, Whimsicott, and whatever, Dondozo can handle those relatively fine because you're so bulky and so aggressive. You just have to watch out for the Primarina with the haze stuff, right? So I'm going to lead early on with Talonflame and Glimmora just to get some early game aggression instead of, just in case he tries to do Whimsicott. He does Amoonguss instead with Dragapult. All right, I wanted to take a risk here and just go straight with the Talonflame, Brave Bird into the Amoonguss, get rid of it. But he ends up protecting, which is a good play. But we get to go for the Meteor Beam here into the Dragapult, right? And then he also set my Toxic Spikes, and we just removed the Dragapult. That thing was banded, so that had no shot. Okay, the instant is now poisoned, which is good. All right, so I want to try again. He actually gets the double protect, right? Which is good for him. He fakes out the Glimmora, which sets more Toxic Spike damage there. But, you know, the Amoonguss is staying alive. I want to just nuke this thing. All right, this might be in Earth Power range at this point. So there's the Brave Bird. That's good damage. There's the Citrus. Okay, and here's the Glimmora clicking Earth Power. Good bulky instant set there. But of course, you know, we have a non-stab move. He takes out the Talonflame, which is okay because now I get a free swap into something else. There's the Clear Smog. So that's the Dondozo check, quote unquote, right? So we have to be aware of that, right? So I want to just protect this turn, all right? I want to just remove the Amoonguss and not suffer, you know, Parting Shot or Willis from instant this turn. Let the instant die to the poison damage, which is what I want, all right? And now the Amoonguss looks like it's in range, right? So now we can go into Tatsugiri, and now we can go for spread damage Earthquake. And even if he goes Terra Grass Primarina, it's not the end of the world. I just need to overwhelm him and force the 3-on-1 here. Just remove the Amoonguss. Even if he goes Clear Smog now, I'm sorry, Haze, it's still fine. But I see that he is Leftovers Primarina, which means it is Calm Mind and it is not Haze. So I'm kind of fine here. I just want let the Primarina take more toxic chip damage. I think it's a mistake not to have the Haze here, but he did go for the Clear Smog Amoonguss. But that's why we remove it, right? So this way we don't have to deal with that threat later. And look, the Primarina can't do anything against this, especially with Glimmora chip damage, right? So you got to see the value of Glimmora. Look how much damage that was doing to Primarina. In fact, that was the reason why we really won this game, is because we took out the Dragapult, we took out the Incin, and then we did so much damage into the Amoonguss where Dondozo was able to clean up. And most of that damage into Primarina was all that poison damage. So again, you got to really see how strong Glimmora is in the early get-go. Alright, this last one here is like some weird, interesting gimmick here with Sentret, Salamence, Gothitelle trapping. So Gothitelle trapping could be good here, right? So this way I don't get to do my little pivot swap for the Dondozo boost, but that's okay. I think early aggression here with Gholdengo is going to be strong because he doesn't really have a whole lot of resist besides the Milotic. And I don't think Milotic even comes here. So I think just early on stuff with Gholdengo looks really good here. And then I could even use Pawmot here because Pawmot, you know, just in case he does decide to bring the Milotic or even that Hisuian Braviary, it looks really good over there. Now, we do have to watch out for the Psychic stuff with Expanding Force with that Indeedee, but either way, I don't think I'm very afraid with it. I think Pawmot could really do something here, so I bring it anyway. But there's the Braviary and there is the Sentret. I'm not really sure what the Sentret's supposed to do here, but Gholdengo Dondozo is the lead I decided to go with. All right, so he goes into Gothitelle here, which is interesting. But again, I just want to protect Dondozo. I go for the Nasty Plot. And this is just straight Heat Wave, which I didn't expect from the Braviary, but because we have bulk on our Gholdengo, that really pays off for me here. But I didn't expect Heat Wave Braviary here, so that was something. But here we can just go Make It Rain. You know, everything almost drops here. There's a Sash on that Sentret. We take it out with Wave Crash. I could have Wave Crashed the Gothitelle, but, you know, I was aiming for the Braviary here. Goes Trick Room. Unfortunate for me, because if I just remove the Gothitelle instead of the Sentret, I think it's over. But literally, I kind of want the Gholdengo to go down here. So I'm just going to protect Dondozo here. He goes for Psychic into it, which is good. And then Expanding Force does take out the Gholdengo. So this is okay, because now we get to go into Tatsugiri. And even though I'm not going to outspeed these things because of Trick Room, I still have so much bulk here that it's going to be okay. So Psychic does nothing because it's Gothitelle. Expanding Force will do more. But again, you know, just solid earthquake damage, removing the Gothitelle and almost removing the Indeedee entirely, and more leftovers recovery. He goes Braviary. Now I'm just gonna protect, get a little bit more recovery, and end up stalling this Trick Room later, so this way Pawmot can, you know, end things in the end game, right? Because I do expect Dondozo to go down here, right? So that's too much damage from Braviary, right? And then Expanding Force will just end me. But this is fine because Trick Room is over, and now, you know, Pawmot can just end up finishing the game here, right? I don't have to go for Survival Blessing. I can just nuke the Indeedee. I outspeed the Braviary, I know that much, and just Double Shock just immediately removes it, right? So that's the benefit there. So Pawmot does get to see some screen time, right? But again, Pawmot's not going to come to every game, okay? You have to really pick your matchups. We did bring it in that Archaludon game, but we crit it, so we didn't really end up needing to bring the Pawmot. But, you know, at least you now got to see the team in a few practice games, of course. Anyway, so that's the Dondozo team. Again, you know, Gholdengo's really strong. Glimmora really strong. You don't always have to rely on Dondozo Tatsugiri. You have other aggressive options, and, you know, Talonflame Tailwind with Code for Cloak is just so good. So feel free to capitalize it. So free Dondozo team, give it a go. Let us know how you do. And again, if you need some help with team building for Regulation H, you just don't know where to start, feel free to sign up for coaching on the channel. Tier 3 sub gets you a one-on-one team building session with me. If you check a look at the video description below, as well as the pinned comment section, we do have a link to join the channel with that tier 3 sub. And then you can message me on Discord. You can join the Discord. And then, well, the Discord you can join anyway. It's free. But you can message me. And then from there, we can plan out a session and then get you that Regulation H team that you definitely need. For, you know, ladder play, tournament play, regional play, whatever you need it for, we've got you covered. So feel free to sign up. But anyway, we'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.